There's another game, another top 15 matchup in Oxford that follows College Game Day on Saturday. Kentucky and Ole Miss. Now, two undefeated teams. Ole Miss is finally playing a conference game. They haven't. We wonder about Zach Evans, who left the game against Tulsa, but they've been able to run the ball much more effectively than they've passed it. Kentucky, on the other hand, has not been able to run it at all. And now Chris Rodriguez comes back for the Wildcats, and their offensive coordinator, Rich Garangelo, is hoping that also helps the passing game a little bit, because Will Levis has made big plays, but he's gotten sacked a lot. Ole Miss gets a lot of pressure. I mean, there are a lot of factors at play that could sort of point the direction for the season for both the Wildcats and the Rebels in that one on Saturday too.
I think this game will probably learn the most about two teams right? I still think there's a little aura of mystery around both those teams. Obviously, Kentucky went and won in the Swamp. I still think we're learning a little bit about how much resistance Florida is going to provide this season. When I look at Kentucky, Rece, I see a team that has the 88th ranked offense in the country. One spot ahead of Auburn, 2 spots ahead of Vanderbilt. So again, some of that is obviously Rodriguez being out. You just wonder if you can survive that gauntlet of the SEC. And again, I don't think they're in the same talent class as Georgia, but I don't see any other games on their schedule that I just automatically register as a loss, right? Yeah. But you have to play better offense than that. And you would think with Will Levis, with some of the really good young skill that they've flashed, that they would be able to, Rich Scangarello would be able to have that offense functioning at a little bit higher level. So again, maybe there's a burst in the run game. Maybe they start to get going a little bit, but that's the one thing I want to see from that game is, especially because look, Ole Miss is going to run some tempo. You're going to have a lot of possessions. Can you find a little bit of an identity on offense and have Will Levis push the ball down the field some and balance that with a good run attack? Yeah,
I think I had a malaprop in his name. Give me the right pronunciation on the OC.
See, people have to know this about Rece. He is he's a precision pronunciator. It's a very good quality to have in his job, which requires a complete repertory of random names from.
Why do you say repertory instead of repertoire?
So I think repertory there's a nuanced difference, I believe, in the two. And we're going to go into Wendy Billis territory here in Unique, but we need someone smarter to answer that question for us. But it's Rich Scangarello is the right pronunciation.
Scangarello?
Scangarello.
Scangarello.
It might be Scangarello, but I think it's Scangarello.
Scangarello. Scangar.
Yeah, I think it's pretty phonetic.
Yeah. Okay. I think I just did the malaprop thing where I juxtaposed. I wasn't trying to correct syllables. You. No. I'm glad you do. No. I always say that, with guys, if you misspeak, if you call, for instance, the former Michigan State coach, if you call him, Mike D'Antoni instead of Mark D'Antonio, you don't have to say, hey, by the way, you missed that. Just say it right. If you had if it just slipped, you said something inadvertently or something to that nature, just go ahead and be a good teammate, say it right, say, look, we know we had a little misspeak there, no problem. And you kind of move on with the show. But about Scangarello, I read a great story this week. It's on ESPN.com right now that he was watching the LSU Kentucky game last year and saw Will Levis and said, hey, who's that? I need to make sure I have him on my scouting list for next year. And now all of a sudden he's running the offense for him. And scouts see a Josh Allen, and he's going to have a Josh Allen-like performance, I think, for Kentucky to win at the level that they would like to win the rest of the year, given their offensive problems. You threw some stats out. Let me throw a few that I've put in my notes for this week for Kentucky. 125th in the nation out of 131. Under 2.5 yards per rush, only 3 rushing touchdowns, 53% in the red zone. That's 102nd. They allow sacks nearly 14% of the time. That's 4th worst in the country. They've given up 16 sacks. The previous one was 5th worst. This one is 4th worst in the country, 16 sacks. But because of Levis's big arm, they are top 10 in the country in yards per attempt. So when he gets it off, they're making some plays downfield.